Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. I got some updates on the Cincinnati Shaper. I did finally get the clutch out and the flywheel off. The clutch wasn't nearly as bad as the flywheel. I had a heck of a time with the flywheel. I did finally get it off though. Um, but I was going to go ahead and send this video or show this video on how this all comes out. So basically, when you start, you pull off this cap right here, pull off the crown nut right here. There's going to be a cotter pin in there. Um, and then you have to remove this back cover. Um, and I didn't do that originally, but I found out I had to. Then there's a little set screw right here. It's got a little flat head on it that goes all the way in and locks that shaft in. Um, and these gears here, they will just slide right off of the shaft. There's splines on the shaft, and they'll just slide right off, as will the oil pump right there. Now that oil pump, like I showed in my last video, I think it was the last video, there is, I'll try to move this around real quick while I'm holding the camera. There is this little pin right here, and there's a little cotter pin that goes through it that locks this into place, that basically locks this on into the shaft so that it won't freewheel. And then that in turn spins the oil pump gear down here. So anyway, I just put it all back on the shaft. I can keep better track of all my parts that way and won't forget when I go to put it back together. But the bearer was the flywheel. Now the flywheel right here, this is what I ended up doing. They had a grease cap over top of the end of the flywheel here after the clutch came out, and that grease cap had a bolt pattern on it. So I used that bolt pattern and used a blind flange, 4-inch blind flange that I had laying here at the house. I always keep parts off of jobs, and that's one of the jobs I had where I had a 4-inch flange that I could just repurpose. So as I drilled those holes, I was able to go into that the existing holes that held these are quarter 20 holes, by the way, and so I was able to go into the quarter 20 holes that held the grease cap on, and then I just drilled out the center for that's a 3/4 inch piece of all thread that I just welded a nut on the end so I could use it to drive out the in fact, the little plug that I put on the end of it is still on the actual end of the shaft. But that, after I was able to do that, I was able to push that little plug I had to turn on my lathe um, to fit over here on the shaft. So I basically was pushing against this part right here and was able to drive the pulley off. It was a bear though, but finally got it. I actually tried to repurpose one of my 3-jaw chucks originally. I welded 3 nuts on here so I could get a wider spread to get inside I was trying to span the holes of the pulley, but the problem with that is it kept turning to one side. It may have worked if I used, tried to fab up a 3-jaw chuck, but I was kind of in a hurry and just trying to get it done. And anyway, that didn't work. I tried though. E for effort. So anyway, I got the bearings out there up here in the roller, tapered roller bearings. 100-year-old grease in there. I'm going to soak those down in some kerosene. I think they're probably in pretty good shape because this thing was freewheeling pretty well. When I had the belt off, didn't feel like any slop or play in the bearings either. So I think I'm just going to soak those in kerosene, clean them up real good, repack them, and then I think I'm going to get onto my oil passages after that next. I don't know if you guys have seen much on the Cincinnati Shapers, but there's this little oil tower right here. The pump pumps up to this oil tower, and then as it pumps up, there's a little sight glass you can see right there. I'm going to have to put a new gasket in there. I had this unbolted. And then as you look, through the top, you got all these oil ports that go to different plumbing down below, and just they're gravity fed. After they get up to the tower, it just falls down through these tubes. So I'm going to fill this full of kerosene and use some compressed air to make sure all my oil passages are clear. But I don't think it ever had a problem with starving of oil, because you can still see some of the hand flakes and scraping marks on the. Of course, it could have been, who knows? Somebody else may have scraped it 50, 20 years ago. Who knows? But they look pretty good. And like on the even on the ram, you can see the bronze bushing right here. There's no scoring on it at all. It's nice and smooth, no wear. So, but anyway, I just wanted to update you guys on the progress. I actually these shifting mechanisms also, for the gears. The gear normally rides on that fork right there. You can see it's like a half moon shape that rides between the gears to shift them back and forth. And I ended up there's a jam nut right here. If you loosen that up and then unscrew the square head screw there, you can actually slide. You can see I did one and put it back together. I do that so I can keep track of everything and not lose it or put it on the wrong shaft for whatever reason. But I put that in I chucked that up in my lathe and polished the end. So I'll take one out at a time and do the same. And then after I get those cleaned up, before I paint it, I will, wrap those with masking tape, keep them nice and clean. But yeah, it's coming along. I'm going to put kerosene throughout the machine. That was the other thing. I did drain the whole oil sump on this thing, and I tell you what, I bet I got 2 gallons of water out of this thing. And I don't know if that's just from the age of it being 98 years old and not had oil change anytime recently. Because I don't know if it's where the water came from. I'm guessing the castings get cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. Condensate forms inside the sump, and yeah, it had a lot of water, but it looks like it didn't do anything as far as corrosion. My gears are in great shape. There hardly any wear on them. So, and that's in another lower sump besides this. It's down in the base. It takes it up in like 2 stages from what I can see in the schematic. This is the area where the oil pump actually sucks it up, and I guess it dumps it down into the bottom sump. I don't know. I'll have to dig into the oil schematic a little bit better, but there's a sump at the very bottom of this machine. And yeah, when I pulled this plug here, I know some of them have sight glasses on the bottom, but I don't know if it's just the vintage of this machine, the year, that I never did see one. The only sight glass that I had was on the back cover of the gear transmission area. There's an oil sight glass that normally sits on that cover. But it's coming along. I got one of them little needler files that I'm gonna, or needler guns, whatever you want to call it, try to chip away most of that old paint and see how well it cleans up. But I mean, it's coming along. It's a slow process. There's a lot of grunt work on this thing. Everything's big on it. So that's the clapper box. I don't know if I showed that in my last video or not, but it cleaned up pretty nice. I'm gonna paint this red as well. Get that paint off there first. But you can see the actual clapper turned out really nice. And hopefully the machine itself turns out the same way when I'm finished. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end that here on this is part 3 on the Cincinnati shaper machine restoration. There's an old tag. I don't even believe they're in business anymore. I'd have to look it up. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. If you want to keep following along, just be sure to subscribe and give me some thumbs up, some love, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.